big night tonight in Ghana. Good evening. This is Ghana Tonight. I'm Kemeni Amano. Let's take a look at our top stories real quick. Tonight, controversy over process in choosing ballot decisions for the December polls, a review of the drawn-out exercise. Also coming up tonight, we show you how the ballot for the supreme job, the presidency, plays out, who's in, who's out, and who's where on the ballot order. Also coming up, tops in our stories at this hour. Police and democracy have at a stalemate over whether or not that demonstration against illegal mining will take place. Again, this is Ghana Tonight. As always, you can get interactive with us on our socials. We are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at TV3 Ghana. And when you get interactive with us, use the hashtag Ghana Tonight so we see your comment quickly. But let's go through the process. First is Ghana Brief.
Disagreement and prolonged interventions were prominent as representatives of political parties and independent candidates balloted for positions on the 2024 presidential ballot paper. The exercise, which was supposed to take a few minutes, dragged due to accusations and counter-accusations over the transparency of the process.
Because my presidential candidate has been going on campaign, their uniform, and I'm picking on his behalf, and I cannot look at what I'm picking. So that you
please, we'll put it in the bag, keep them here. You come and then you pick what you want.
Let me make a point. Just one.
No, let me make a point.
Please. You know? No.
Flag bearer of the People's National Convention, PNC, Bernard Morner, says he will contest the Electoral Commission's decision to disqualify him from the 2024 presidential elections. Speaking to TV3, the flag bearer argued he will push until his name appears on the ballot sheet.
I will not accept this kind of disrespect, and we will not accept the fact that the Electoral Commission does not want to play according to the rules. I notified my lawyer, and they've written to the Electoral Commission to find out how come that we have not written. We've not been written to. And so be assured that we will take up this matter to the end.
Disqualified independent presidential candidate Janet Asananabla has launched an attack on the Electoral Commission, describing the elections management body as incompetent. Janet, the only female among 11 disqualified aspirants, said she was disqualified because the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, is jealous of her.
I have been listening to people complain so much about the Electoral Commission. And because directly I wasn't affected, at times I helped them, at times I asked people to bring out evidence. But today, an injustice has just been committed by Electoral Commission to me. Electoral Commission, to whom I sent my documents, have taken some of the documents and hid them. Do you know they gave some people 5 days to go and do corrections? They gave me 2 hours to make corrections. Whatever they have done was a plan and a calculated thing to remove me from the election. And you ask yourself, why will you do that to your colleague woman? Jealousy, that's what I've seen.
Conveners of Democracy Hub have served notice to proceed with their scheduled protest against illegal mining, despite the police acquisition of an ex parte injunction against the demonstration. The police and conveners of Democracy Hub are in a stalemate over routes and convergence of their protesters.
We want to be clear. Our goal is not confrontation. We are organizing this demonstration to raise awareness about the urgent issue of illegal mining, galamsey, and its devastating impact on our environment and communities. We are committed to conducting a peaceful, organized, and safe protest.
Senior staff of the Volta River Authority VRA, along with the members of the Public Services Workers Union PSWU, of the Trades Union Congress TUC, staged a protest at the VRA headquarters in Accra Friday afternoon. The protest is in opposition to a proposed merger between the VRA and We Power Authority.
We are telling the whole nation and the world that VRA is as efficient as it is, very reliable and hardworking. And if you want to inject private partnership into it, come and negotiate with us. That one, we are cool. All that we are seeking to do is that they should withdraw the bill and let's sit down and talk well.
More to come here. It was a raucous, the storm before the quiet, but now we know who is placed where on the ballot order. Tonight we're going full throttle on that EC event in the last few hours. The ballot order choosing process is a major step in the electoral process, but this time was characterized by lots of disagreement. Nonetheless, it began with chairperson of the Electoral Commission announcing the aspirants who sailed through to become candidates in the 2024 presidential race.
Out of the total of the 24 nominations received, the two committees tasked to review the forms and to make recommendations to the Commission have cleared 13 candidates. And once again, I'd like to mention them. Mr. Mahamudu Bawumia of the New Patriotic Party, Mr. John Dramani Mahama of the National Democratic Congress, Mr. Alan John Kojo Tremanting, an independent candidate, Mr. Christian Kwabena Andrews, Ghana Union Movement, Mr. Daniel Augustus Latte of the Ghana Great Consolidated People's Party, Mr. George Chumberima, an independent candidate, Mr. Nana Kwame Bediaku, an independent candidate, Mr. Hassan Ayariga, All People's Congress, Mr. Kofi Apalu of the Liberal Party Ghana, Madam Ekwe Adonko, Ghana Freedom Party, Madam Akosua Frimpong Kamankama of the Convention People's Party, Mr. Mohammed Frimpong of the National Democratic Party, and Mr. Kofi Kranting, an independent candidate. It is important to note again that all the presidential candidates were provided an opportunity to correct the errors on their nomination forms.
Now, the ballot order exercise, which followed shortly after that, was filled with banters, rants, and a cacophony. The EC officials struggled to control the exercise, which was supposed to take a few minutes, but dragged out due to accusations and counter-accusations over the transparency of the process. Take a look.
It's actually not giving anybody any advantage. When you put the opacity and you still look, then nothing has been achieved. Because the reason why we're asking for opacity is that your eyes will not have an advantage of seeing any distinction difference.
We'll unfold them.
No, hold on.
We'll unfold them.
Yeah, no, hold on. Will you allow me to just make? Okay. If you are watching international ballot probe, ordinary, your hand goes even into it without you. All you do is to shuffle and pick one. You don't look. But the moment your eyes can see and there are differences, you will be able to look for the one you're looking for and pick it out. That's why we're asking for opacity. And what Dr. Yariga said, our independent person putting on is actually in a good arrangement as well to ensure that since there is doubt all over, let somebody who is complaining know not to be part of the that helps.
And you're calling for transparency. You want them to
we need to make progress, please. We need to make
These drawn-out interventions were prominent as representatives of political parties and independent candidates picked their spots on the 2024 presidential ballot paper, the NPP fending off any attempts that could make them lose the #1 position. And I'll give you the rest of the placements in the ballot order, but we also know that there have been some kind of controversy as to how the NPP did it twice, choosing #1 spot, and also suspicions that there could be foul play in that process. Now, I'm going to bring in a bit more on that, but right now I want you to see the placement order on the ballot paper. We know that the NPP is on the #1 spot. If we could take a look at that now. #2 is the GCPP's Daniel Latte Jr. Ekuadonko comes up 3rd on the ballot order. Christian Kwabena Andrews, #4. Kofi Akpalu, #5. It goes on and on up until 13. So let's take a look at #6 now. As far as, the ballot order is concerned, from Kofi Akpalu, there is the NDP's Mohammed Frimpong. #7 is Nana Akosua Frimpong Kuma of the CPP. The NDC's John Dramani Mahama comes up in the #8 spot. Hassan Ayariga of the APC, #9. Kofi Kranting, an independent candidate, comes up at #10. George Chum Berima Edu, also an independent candidate, comes up at #11. And Nana Kwame Bediako, another independent candidate, comes up at #12. The last candidate on the list at #13, also an independent candidate, is Alan Kwejo Tremanting. And I want to show you the list again, because there's something that I need to tell you about this. The process was in 2 parts. The political parties were first in picking their spots on the ballot paper. There were 9 of them, and so there were 9 papers numbered from 1 to 9, and then there were the independent candidates who followed in a separate exercise, choosing from 10 to 13. So there you have it on your list. Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia at #1, Daniel Latte of the GCPP at #2, Ekuadonko at #3, Christian Kwabena Andrews at #4, Kofi Akpalu at #5. #6 is the NDP's Mohammed Frimpong. #7 is Nana Akosua Frimpong Kuma of the CPP, John Dramani Mahama at #8, and Hassan Ayariga #9. And then the independent candidates, Kofi Kranting at #10, #11, George Chumberima. Nana Kwame Bediako comes up at #12, and Alan John Kwejo Tremanting comes up at #13. It's a packed show tonight. There's much more to come your way. I was telling you earlier about that controversy about how the NPP was able to pick #1 twice in a row. It raised suspicions that there could be foul play, but a reporter was there and saw it all. Before I bring in my reporter, I want to show you the video that has raised a lot of suspicions. Let's take a look at that.
you don't send it from
sorry. So he's contesting that ball. Let us examine it.
They are not the same. Do you want me to show you the difference?
Show us. Show us. But you haven't seen it. You have to bring it.
This is the ball that is contested. Is it not? You have to compare. Let me show you. I am saying it's not the same.
Hello.
Please, let me pass it to me. Pass it. Why would you give it them?
No, bring the ball.
Please, we have to play.
No. Bring the ball. NDC.
Please, it's right now. Please, just examine, please. Just examine. Just do your examination. Do your examination. What is all that?
Well, what you just saw is, when the banters began, the disagreements were raised about one of the balls that seemed to have been marked. But I want to show you that video that has raised the biggest controversy about whether or not the NPP indeed picked number 1 again.
Number 8, LPG.
We should.
Number 9, CPP.
Okay, let's see this. So that
Okay, please. You can now open your balls. You can now open your balls, please. NPP,
let's make progress so that we write it down.
what did you?
Let's make progress.
What did you pick? Can you show it to the camera?
New Patriotic Party, number 1.
NPP number 1.
Number 1. This is me. Number 1.
Well, that A is enough to tell you the level of distress that filled the room at the Electoral Commission's headquarters. And if you look at that video, it would seem as though when the electoral official had called that the balls be opened for the papers in there to be inspected for which number the political parties had picked, Evans Nimakon, who is Director of Elections for the NPP, seemed to have turned towards Kofi Akpalu, took a paper from that corner and then presented that. And that is what many of you have said feels, the concerns about foul play in this. But our reporter is here. He wants to tell us a bit more about what happened. Noble Crosby Annan was right behind there. And Crosby, you were standing right behind...
Right behind Evans Nimakon, the NPP's Director of Elections. Like you mentioned, there was a lot of tension in the room, a cloud of distrust. I mean, all the major parties, they were each sniffing allegations of fraud, mistrust going on. So I was interested in knowing what was exactly going on. So I took a position behind Evans Nimakon, and when he was the first to pick the first round of ballot, so it means he had to pick the first ballot on the positioning. So when he picked it, he held it in his left hand. He came to sit down. He was still guarding it seriously. He eventually slowly opened it. And then I was behind him. So I saw when he was opening it. When he opened it, he passed the paper he took from the ball to McMenu, the former chairman of the party. And then that is when the paper, if you like, went to his left side. But if you're looking at that video from a different angle, it looks as though he took the paper from McMenu or Akpalu. But in essence, he was the one, after he saw the number, it was number 1 in a red ink, kind of. He was the one who passed it to the McMenu and then Kofi Akpalu. So when he was asked to show what number he got, that is how come he was, if you like, taking it from behind him. That's what is fanning the allegations of picking or swapping the numbers and all of that.
Let's take a look at that video from the angle where our reporter stood.
Number 7, NDC. Number 8 Number 9 CPP.
What's the number 1
Number 9 CPP.
What's the number 1
Okay, please. You can now open your box. You can now open your box.
Let's make progress so that we write.
What did you? What did you do?
You know, in a bit, we will hear from the political parties after the entire event, when each of them knew where their candidates were placed on the ballot paper. But Crosby is still here with us. Crosby, beyond this, we know that the NDC had raised questions about, and not only the NDC, the APC too, had raised questions about the balls they were using and how transparent they were. Talk to us about those.
So it started when, for the first round of balloting to determine the number of who picks what at what time. So the NDC decided they first wanted to examine the balls that would be balloted with, because they wanted to know the weight of the balls and, physically examine the balls. So the balls went round to the whole, all the parties on the table. The NDC were the first to see. They held, had a feel of the balls and all of that. Then it went to the other people. So after that, the NPP, because they were the first to submit or file their nominations, they were the first to pick, and then they picked number 1. After all the other candidates picked various balls from the bowl, the NDC then said that they detected some anomaly, if you like, in the balls. They thought one ball was standing out, and it was easy for whoever wanted to pick that ball to pick. And because the NPP was the first to pick, they decided to pick the ball. So the NDC began raising questions about that, but we could play that video. But after that was the second round of the balloting for the positions on the ballot paper. So it happened that the parties had to go through the balls again, because the NDC had raised objections that particular ball that they thought was marked be removed from the bowl where the balls would be kept. And the APC and the NDC, as well as some other parties, wanted something opaque so that they would not, or the parties would not be able to see through to identify a marked ball to pick it. So they thought that would increase the levels of transparency, but that was objected to strongly by the NPP. Eventually, a polythene bag was brought, a rubber bag was brought, the balls were put inside, and then the parties began picking. First was the NPP, because they were number 1, and then they picked. Of course, the NDC did not want the NPP to look into the polythene bag, but Nimako said he would, and then he did when he was picking it. So he saw through, and then he picked the ball when he came. That was the video we saw. That was the number 1. Yeah.
Crosby, I'm going to have to say thank you for staying up for us. Noble Crosby and uncovered that ballot order event at the Electoral Commission. We still have ahead on the program today the flag bearer of the People's National Convention, the PNC. He'll join us on one of the issues that, took place at the Electoral Commission today. He's one of 10 candidates who were disqualified by the Electoral Commission. He has rejected that position or decision by the Electoral Commission. We'll hear from him shortly. But right now, I want you to take a listen to the political parties post the ballot order exercise. Here's Evans Nimako. From the NPP, who was thrilled that the party has, picked number 1. We also had the NDC on the other hand. Perhaps I'll show you that a little later. But how about we take a listen to Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, who announces the nominees or aspirants who couldn't make it, including my next guest.
Mr. Bernard Mona also had incomplete particulars of supporters. He also used registered voters in a particular district to support the nomination in other districts. His form also contained varying signatures for the same supporters, and in some cases, the same signature for different supporters. The committee was of the view that he be disqualified.
Oh, very well. You caught me there. But my guest is here. Bernard Mona is the flag bearer of the PNC. He's one of 10 candidates who were disqualified in, post the filing of nominations by the Electoral Commission. He's vehemently rejected that position. Earlier today, he had spoken to TV3. He said he's unsure why the Electoral Commission would do what it did. Right now, we've had some decision. I want to bring you in at this point. Again, thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us at this time. You've had the decisions now. The reason for the decisions, excuse me. What are your thoughts about that?
The Electoral Commission claimed that there were errors on my form.
Indeed.
So this is the Electoral Commission's old presidential nomination form. So just read. It says candidate's personal record. You can read 1, 2, 3.
2 says voter ID number. Well, 1 says name, 2 says voter ID number. It also has polling station on the right. And 3 is supposed to be sex. I think it went, printing error. So we have 6.
Oh, so it's an error.
You got me, but I'm trying to get the point you're trying to make now.
It's an error. Even on the EC presidential nomination forms, you said they wanted to write sex, and they wrote what?
6. And
so they can make errors.
No, Bernard, I'm trying to understand the point.
No, try to understand what. The EC said that there were errors on my form.
Okay.
Now, if you take all the other persons, all the other candidates, the EC indicated there were errors. They identified anomalies. They gave it to the people. They corrected them, and they admitted them. When it got to us, the EC started fumbling. Don't forget that I've been working with Jean Mensah since 2003. So for 21 years, she has known my name. But you see the way she was fumbling to mention my name. Have you taken note of that? In addition to that, it was only us that Jean Mensah failed to indicate whether they gave us the form with the anomalies and whether we corrected and returned same. All other persons, they said they corrected them. People who did not even have tax clearance certificates, they gave it to them to go and get back tax clearance certificates. You identified some errors, anomalies. You gave us the form on Saturday. We corrected them on Saturday. Returned same to you on Saturday. How come that you cannot indicate there?
Right, so what errors did the EC identify with your application? It has to be
incomplete details of some of the supporters. Okay. And how did it happen? The forms are supposed to be filled in quadruplicates. And so you pick one form and you notice that all the information on a set of form is valid. On one form, a date is omitted. So we were asked to come and put the date. On another, you will see that the ID card was not copied. So all that we did was to look into the other form and copy the ID card number for you. And so we did. So all the corrections that the EC identified, we corrected and rectified them and returned them to the EC. And at 3:29 p.m. on Saturday, Samuel Kwao called me to acknowledge receipt of our corrected forms.
Who is Samuel Kwao?
Samuel Kwao is one of the persons working with the EC subcommittees. So he sent me the document, and we corrected them. So if it is that people who have corrected their forms are admitted onto the ballot, then we could not have been disqualified.
Is there a chance that the correction was not done well? If the
correction, assuming what you are saying is right, if it was not done well, what was the EC supposed to do? To draw our attention, right? Ask them whether they did anything. So we corrected it on the 14th. And on the 20th, you come to tell me that you identified what errors. So if you identified errors, then it is the making of the Electoral Commission, because any and every error you identified on the form and you gave to us, in less than 4 hours, we rectified those errors and we returned the form to you. But I'm saying that you just read this. This is page 137. If you go to page 138, Vice Presidential Quorum, the same error has been repeated. So the EC can make errors, even on their own presidential nomination form. And I'm sure that TV3 has these forms. So go to page 137, you can realize that if it is about errors being made, as we speak, the EC has not given us a final register. You know that precedent over the period means that we only take nominations of candidates when there is a final register. Do we blame the EC for all these things? I am saying that the EC erred grossly in disqualifying us. They gave us just as they gave other candidates, and I listened to the Electoral Commission chairpersons this evening. Clearly, when every candidate they listed, they identified these errors. The person was given the chance. They corrected them. When he got to us, she only said that these are the errors, and then the committee decided that they should disqualify. Just take it.
I would want my producer to put that together again.
And just watch whether they said that we corrected our form and returned it.
Indeed, indeed. But what interest will the Electoral Commission have to disqualify you?
I have no idea. Whether it is because I have said openly and strongly that every Ghanaian will be born into wealth and not debt, and that proceeds from cocoa, from gold, from oil will trickle directly into the bank accounts of every Ghanaian that is born. If this is what Jean Mensa doesn't want her children to enjoy, I'm sorry, but they will enjoy it. If it is the case that I'm speaking about using our own local or Ghanaian languages to become the subject of study, using Twi and Hausa, is that somebody doesn't want? I cannot help you. But I know that I'll become president that will ensure that no Ghanaian is born into poverty.
What you tell me now seems as though you think the Electoral Commission intentionally disqualified you.
If it is not intentional, if they are claiming that there are errors, did you read what you read it again so that people will know? I did. What did you read?
I did.
Did you read sex or you read sex?
I want us to take a listen to the Electoral Commissioner again.
Just particularly about take the people that they qualified and come to take what she said about me.
Let's take a listen. I think this is a longer version of the announcement. Let's take a listen. We'll come back into the studio.
Mr. Bernard Mona also had incomplete particulars of supporters. He also used registered voters in a particular district to support the nomination in other districts. His form also contained varying signatures for the same supporters, and in some cases, the same signature for different supporters. The committee was of the view that he be disqualified.
That I should be disqualified. Did they give us the chance to correct the anomalies?
No, but you said they gave you the chance to correct
did we correct them? Because in the other people, she will tell you that they gave them a chance.
But they didn't.
And they either failed, or those that were able to correct the anomalies identified by the Electoral Commission, you decided to qualify them. In our case, just listen. Blatantly silent on whether we corrected it or not.
Indeed. And you have also addressed, she mentioned 3 things. You've addressed one of them. I want you to address the other 2.
Which one?
Apart from the errors that they say you were there in the incomplete forms case. She also says that it would appear that you had used the voters or same signatures in one of the cases, and then people in one district who had endorsed you in a separate district.
Kimani,
that sounds fraudulent.
This is the Electoral Commission letter on the 13th of September to us, and it will do you and your viewers good if you read it in total.
It says, I bring you greetings from the Presidential Nomination Committee and trust that this letter finds you well. The Nomination Committee has detected the underlisted anomalies with your nomination forms. 1, incomplete particulars of supporters in pages 9, 10, 37, 39, 42, 46, 50, and it would appear that that is the only
So those
anomaly.
are the anomalies the Electoral Commission identified and captured in a letter written to us. So what
Perhaps I should finish it so our viewers will get
So whatever the Electoral Commission is saying today is other imported information that they are bringing, which is not captured on the anomalies they sent to us.
Hang on. So it says that is what they outlined, but it also says that meanwhile the Commission is contacting your supporters to verify the authenticity of their consent to your nomination form. You're required to come for your nomination forms 13 September 2024 and effect the needed corrections and resubmit by 2 p.m. on Saturday, 14 September 2024. We wish you well. So clearly, going by this letter, the Electoral Commission, the anomalies Jean Mensah mentioned were not told to you.
So I am a witch or I am a magician?
I can't answer that.
So therefore, these are the anomalies the Electoral Commission identified and pointed. We rectified them in accordance with what they gave us. If you went and identified any other errors, prudency will require that you inform us. If you fail to do that, then it is the Electoral Commission that is rather an anomalous institution.
So now that your situation is the way it is, tell us what you plan to do about it.
Oh, our lawyers wrote to them this morning.
Okay.
First, when we got that other presidential candidates had received information to come for balloting, our lawyers wrote to them, requesting that we did this, you wrote to us, we did the corrections, and there is a letter from us to you that we did the corrections and we've resubmitted. You didn't give us any letter. When our lawyer's letter went, and we came back. Then Asante Kisi, at 1:17 p.m. today.
Who is Asante Kisi?
He works at the Electoral Commission.
Okay.
He then sent me something and called me to tell me that he has sent me a note. I said, I've seen it. But Kisi, this thing that you are doing, you yourself as a matured person, if I go out and I'm talking about this, will you be happy? Didn't we correct the anomalies that you stated that they are here? He said, Bernard, this is coming from the commission. Please spare me. I'll get back to you, Madam is talking. And that was the end. Kisi never got back to me. But clearly, even those who sent the letter, they realized that no, you said we should correct anomalies. We have corrected them. So your letter of regret cannot be referencing the same anomalies that we have corrected.
Indeed. So essentially, what Jean Mensah, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, announced today, it's not what they told us.
It is totally at variance with what they told us to correct.
I see.
So I don't know what pressure is on Jean Mensah to do what she's doing. But I can tell you that with my blood and with every strength on my part, we will fight this to get the PNC on the ballot. The people of Ghana will get the president they want. And that president is Bernard Mona.
I see. Would this be in spite of... well, my producer says I should end it. So we'll end our conversation here. Thank you so much, Bernard, for joining us today. Bernard Mona is the flag bearer of the PNC. He says that he will contest his disqualification because of the discrepancy in what the Electoral Commission had told him via correspondence and, you know, what the Electoral Commission announced today. It would appear he was not given the opportunity to correct
but you yourself identified errors on the Electoral Commission presidential form.
No, the reason I would say it would appear, because I have to do my job as a
No, but
journalist.
I just gave you the presidential form. That is, that form that I completed.
That is what you have given
That
me.
is the form.
But I haven't authenticated it.
But you have seen this
But
one.
I have seen what you have given me.
And that they wanted to write sex, and they wrote sex. And it's an error in your opinion. They are granted to make errors.
This conversation goes on and on. The Electoral Commission has some questions to answer. We'll follow this story closely and bring you more in subsequent broadcasts. But right now, I want you to listen to the independent candidates who also raised very key concerns about the conduct of the exercise. Let's start off with Nana Kwame Bediako, the leader of New Force Movement.
An amount of work and process to be able to be qualified. Now, once we're qualified, you cannot put some aside and deal with some first and deal with some later. You cannot tell us that the last 4 who are independent would now choose out of 9 to 13. And if that's what the law is, I'd like the media to know that from now, the country will prepare for that. That any time we will walk into this place and we are independent candidates, then we're second-class citizens. Thank you.
We are not seeing
We have structures enough to qualify. You have no basis speaking. We cannot allow independent candidates.
Please, we are making progress. Just sit down. Please, let's move. So I think there was a final explanation about the political parties. Assuming 2 parties don't contest the presidential or 3, and they are also in the constituencies.
So there you have it. Nana Kwame Bediakon was not the only one who made or raised concerns about how the exercise was being conducted without any priority for the independent candidates. We know that the representative of Alan Kwadwo Tramantin, who on the ballot paper is considered an independent candidate, Yabuabe Asamoah, also raised the same questions about why it would appear the political parties were being prioritized over the independent candidates. And that's where we want to take this conversation to now, whether or not it's time we took a second look at how the ballot order exercise goes. Professor Ali Duseidu is a political scientist. He is the head of the political department at the University of Ghana. Thank you so much for joining us here, Prof. Prof, before we get into the focus of our, conversation, how about you tell us your thoughts about how the exercise was conducted generally?
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening to your viewers. I think it is a ceremonial thing they do every 4 years when we are going to vote. But definitely, as competitive as it is, there will definitely be instances where either a political party or a candidate or the representative of a political party or candidate may not be happy with the process. And you saw what happened today. There were a lot of protests, even I think at the initial decision to allow candidates to select the order that they will even select the slots that they're going to be placed. There were a lot of concerns that people raised about how to, and then even generated into a heated argument. That was the first part. But cool heads prevailed, and then they continued with the process. And when they were, I think when they announced how it was going to be, the other candidates, especially the independent contesting candidates, were not also happy. So I think, yes, people would definitely express reservations, but the good thing was that it went well and peaceful, and everybody have accepted the slots that they have been placed on.
I see. I do want to look at a few issues that were raised there. Looking at the conduct of the Electoral Commission, did you get the impression that this was properly planned and rolled out?
Yeah, I think it was part of their initial political activities for the year. And they had, I think they shared it earlier on. The day that they open nomination forms, the day that political parties are supposed to submit their nomination forms, the day that they'll finish the vetting, and then the people will pick their slots. So it is part of the electoral calendar, which they had released earlier. And that meant that they had planned for it, and all preparations were made towards it. So what happened today could have just been an outlier case that they didn't plan for, or maybe it could just be part of the tradition that people believe must be contested.
I see. Finally, let's look at the independent candidates. They had to come second to the the political parties. They felt peeved about that. Do they have justification?
One, I'm not sure there is a law in the country that says that when you are going to do the balloting, political parties must come first before before independent candidates. The law allows both independent candidates and political parties to contest, and one for both the presidential ticket but also the parliamentary ticket. So I'm not sure, I stand to be corrected, that there's a law that says that the independent candidates must come after the presidential political parties. But I also believe that it has become an established norm that has been done over the years. And there have been little protests or contests from the independent political parties. So it continued. But I also believe that it could have a little bit of historical antecedent. If you look at the role of independent candidates, especially at the presidential level, they have been very minimal in the growth of our elections. If you look at the decolonization elections that happened roughly between 1945 moving forward, we had majority of individuals contesting as independent candidates. Then when you move a little bit beyond the 45, the 2000, that is the competitive year. So you move beyond the decolonization elections and you look at the transitional elections, you still had a lot of independent people contesting, but more for the parliamentary candidate than for the presidency. But when you look at our consolidation period now, there are a lot of independent candidates coming in stronger again, especially at the presidential level, because a lot of voters in African countries are now becoming fed up with the role of political parties development, even though they vote for them every year. So people now think that they could court the support of disillusioned citizens who are fed up with political parties and be able to lead. So because there was a period that very little independent contested at the presidential level, so maybe the selection of the slots were largely political parties.
Very well.
So I think basically it has to do with that element of historical evolution. But by and large, I think what independent political parties can do now is to contest that norm, that established norm, and see whether there could be a law to either enforce it or they can open up the space for them to for both political parties and independents to ballot at the same time, without due regards to the parties coming earlier before them.
Very well, Prof. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much. Professor Alidu Seidu is a political scientist. He's also head of the political science department of the University of Ghana. You're still live here on Ghana Tonight. Remember, we are your election command center. I want us to hear from the political parties after their placement. But before then, I want you to meet someone we'll be talking to in a tad. Hassan Ayariga is the leader and flag bearer of the All People's Congress, APC. He plays 9 on the ballot paper. Good evening, sir. I hope you're having a great evening so far.
Good evening to you and good evening to your viewers. Yes, I'm having a good evening. It's my daughter's birthday. So after the program, we are out having dinner.
Oh, looks like it's a double celebration tonight. You sail through in the presidential, in the presidential race as far as the ballot order is concerned, and your daughter's birthday on the other hand. I was hoping we could catch it. Yes, there you are. We can see you now. We're happy that you could join us. But how about we hold you on just for a tad? Let's take a listen to some of the, the political parties represented at the ballot order exercise today at the Electoral Commission. And then, well, my producer says that we could, what I wanted to do was take a quick break and come back, but he says that we can have our conversation. So let's go on. Are you happy where you play? It's number 9.
That's a striker. If you're playing a game like football match and you have put the 9th position, what it means is that you have to be scoring the goals. And if you are number 1, that means that you are the goalkeeper. So you have to be ready for the striker. So MPP is placed number 1 because they are the goalkeeper. They are the government in power. And I'm number 9. I'm the striker. So it's going to be between the striker and the goalkeeper. What is going to happen? If I get the balls from number 8, number 7, number 6, I'm sure wonders will happen in 2024 general elections. So I'm happy with my position, number 9. Born for September, number 9, month of September for the qualifications, number 9 for balloting, the same September 9th. So you can imagine what 9 means to me. It means a lot. And I'm happy with that number.
I see. But you were in there, and this is not your first rodeo with the presidential race in this country. What did you think about the exercise today?
The exercise was a bit hectic. That's number one. People were not sure of it being transparent and it being credible. And then so there was a banter between the NDC representatives and the MPP representatives of the issue why the MPP should look at the balls before picking. And then, so there was one ball that was in there that was different. It had some whitish line around it, and that ball was totally different. So when the NDC Fifi Quote General Secretary picked it out and said that he wasn't sure of this ball, and it looks funny. So we all agreed that, okay, in that case, let them remove the ball. Then he was still debating on the fact that he's not 100% sure that this ball is correct. So they should just remove everything and change. So I said, okay, in that case, what we need to do is that, look, there are two options. Option number one is we change all the balls and bring in new balls. Or option number two, we get an independent person, maybe the media or any other person, then to wrap the papers, and then put them in the ball. Because when you look at the balls, they had some names to the day, night, visibility, something, so many names. I looked at it and I said, no. That cannot be a transparent way of having these balls with names. So in a nutshell, I was of the view that let somebody else pull the papers, the ballot papers, and put them in the ball instead of the EC doing that. And that also went well with all of them. But then still, they said, okay, what they want is that they should put them in a dark rubber bag so that everybody who comes will put his hand in there and just pick.
Right.
But when they did that, they put it in a transparent rubber bag.
I see. So tell me this. While all of these things were going on, what was going on in your own head as to why a nation as this is going through the process, and it is this, for lack of a better word, very primary, if you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, for me, I'm not worried about which number I pick or which number others do. What is important is that let's pick these numbers and then go and campaign. That's the most important thing. If people want to vote for Hassan Eriga, they will look for his face among the 13, candidates, and pick his face and vote for him. But people believe that these numbers play an important role. I don't know, something is a spiritual way, some people think it favors when you pick number one or when you pick the last number. For me, if I want to put them into context, I think that we should just pick the numbers. If it is transparent, they should roll them, not put them in the ball. Just put them down. Just wrap them like some gum. Just squeeze them and then put them down. Everybody should come and pick. And funny enough, I didn't like the idea of picking the ball and holding it and then wait until everybody is done before you open it. That was something I did not agree with, because some people can swap it. They can swap it. I can swap mine with any other person.
Right. We're going to have to take a break now, but do you think the process was rigged?
I think that there was some funny play, but let it go.
Very well. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much. Hassan Ayariga is the leader and flag bearer of the APC, taking us into a quick break. When we come back, why does the placement number matter? That's what we are looking at now. Number 1, number 2, number 8, number 13. Why does it matter at all? This is Ghana Tonight. We'll be right back.
You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Welcome to Rehoboth Havens, a tranquil oasis in the serene.
Star 712 hash.
Luck is everywhere.
8K. Hey, you get an 8K. Get a packing from your Hey, wait.
You go put it on his tab. This is my man. Good luck.
Hey, go bill with you. We are star 712. It's what you follow. I'm on dialing the magic numbers. Star 712. Now welcome to the luckiest. Aha, and now with me at home ticket. You can buy for yourself or your loved one.
Mommy, tell mommy who's here.
You're buying for me, right?
Or who else?
Oh.
Let's choose buy tickets for others.
Love you, boo boo.
Maybe straight to option 4. Now we need to buy tickets worth 50 Ghana to qualify. Yes, you can buy random or preferred tickets. I'm choosing random tickets. Listen, if you buy the random ticket, the system chooses a random number for you. But if you buy the preferred, you get to input your own preferred 5 digits. 5.
Baby, give me your 5 numbers.
And how much are we buying?
Babe, look at the body and buy you.
With your body,
Hey,
there, tread cautiously. Now follow the prompts and prepare. Now the luckiest.
The luckiest is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform, not for persons below 18 years. T&Cs apply.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful M-Punch one?
Chesena me ankasa me period na say problems wom ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na me kwan point no mo hwe me modem no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro me fine no ene ma won kra me enu kofro kwa na mkwan mu a eba and everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko end point o mama no nura ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's end point for you of Acrobato.
Hello.
Hey, ohwehwe what chair. Okay, a free bra wo di end point what dance am me call you no me Joseph Sama na enkoyie and person na my emre nyina na magina sabema na me no be fear for there the one dey nyina jaresa. You heard everything. I have secret. M-Punch is my secret. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. I'm free.
One of the most important and popular forms of communication is through a television set, and not just any television set, but Franco television set. We have smart and LED TVs ranging from the smallest of 32 inches to the biggest of 86 inches. Franco television is easy to operate, it gives you the best picture, and it has distinctive features like Maracas, USB, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and 4K resolution pictures. Rush now to any of our branches nationwide or on our website at www.francotrading.com. You can call the numbers on the screen for any assistance. Franco Trading Enterprise is still the home of quality television sets.
You're watching Ghana Tonight. We are your election command center. It's 77 days to the elections, and it's been a big night for the Electoral Commission as they announced 13 out of the 24 aspirants who filed have sailed through onto the ballot paper. Today we know who places where. The question we've been asking is, can we move, or that's it for today? Well, it would appear that's all we can do today, but I did want to go in a bit into where each candidate is placed and what it means. But that conversation will continue tomorrow at 7 a.m. with Alfred Okanse and the team, his team of panelists who come on here for key points. It's that 7 a.m. Tomorrow. Do make a date. And then also join me Sunday at 2 p.m. when I bring you that conversation with Haruna Idrisu, former minority leader and Tamale South MP. Riveting conversation. Don't miss that on Sunday at 2 p.m. In the meantime, you have yourself a pleasant weekend. I'm Kemeni Amano. Good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.